Happy Wednesday, October 6th. May we please call the Executive Committee to order, and could you please call the roll?
Bates?
Here.
Berman?
Berman here.
Davis? Ford?
Here.
Thank you. Froz?
Here.
Gums?
Gums here.
Kenyon?
Kenyon.
Caius?
I'm going to shut the door because
Martin?
I have questions about our resolution.
Martin present.
Molina?
Molina present.
Sanchez?
Here.
Strathman?
Strathman here.
Sturgis?
Sturgis here.
Deppie here.
Shepro?
Shepro present.
You're
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Oh, who would like to do the Pledge of Allegiance today?
Need a volunteer?
I'll do it.
Yeah, all right, here we go.
Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the
United
United States of America,
to the
republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one
under
nation,
God,
indivisible,
liberty,
with liberty and justice for all.
Ooh. Yes. Welcome.
It's magic.
I hear it's magic, it's Halloween. Right?
That's why the black.
Yes.
Madam Chair, motion to approve the minutes by Shepro.
Thank you, sir.
Second. Second.
Is there any, thank you, Mr. Kyle, second. Is there any discussion or changes on the minutes? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Bates?
Yes.
Berman?
Berman, yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
Froz?
Yes.
Gums?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Caius?
Caius, yes.
Martin?
Martin, yes.
Molina?
Molina, yes.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Strathman?
Strathman, yes.
Sturgis? Tepe?
Deppie, yes.
Shepro?
Shepro, yes.
Oh, very good, the pass. I believe we have one public comment. Is Mr. Mark Avalar?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Mark Avalar. I'm on Zoom.
Oh, very good, Mr. Avalar. You have 3 minutes, I believe. Is this to topic or off topic on the agenda?
This is off topic of the agenda.
Okay, very good. Could you please give your informal name and your address, please?
Yes, the name is Mark Avalar. I am at 2073 Peachtree Lane in Algonquin, Illinois, in Kane County. I live in District 23, which is Mr. Caius's district, resident, same address for 27 years. The topic I want to speak on this morning is the Kane County reapportionment. I've been monitoring the meetings, especially since the early September with the Reapportionment Task Force discussing Voting Rights Act districts, both VRA as well as influencers. And I've spoken my concerns via email correspondence and through several meetings with board members since that meeting with my concerns that I've raised. My number one concern is to do with the splitting of the village of Algonquin. The village of Algonquin has been in one Kane County Board District as far as back as I can remember, and I've been here through 3 reapportionments, to this one being the 4th. And I'm just with a population of Kane County, according to the census data, of 8,218 residents, I don't see the justification for the split. And I recognize there's VRA concerns and there's been some questions, but as someone who just voices my concerns, I also like to voice alternatives and positive cooperative solutions. And I did just do this with the McHenry County Board's reapportionment that was concluded last month on the 21st. My amendment was the only public input amendment adopted into the remapping. I had participated with the public hearing and working with the demographer to come to a better solution for the village of Algonquin residents in McHenry County. Even though I don't live in McHenry, I live in the village of Algonquin, and that crosses county lines. So I hope to apply those same steps of cooperation with, and thankful that I have public access to the census data, not as robust as your demographer. But what I'm questioning this morning, and Madam Chair, hopefully you're going to do this during committee updates this morning's agenda, is the timeline. At the September 7th meeting of the task force, you had said you were going to be releasing a census map on September 30th. It's now October 6th. I've seen no press releases. I've seen no meeting announcements. So maybe, Madam Chair, if you could clarify if there is a latest best estimate for when the release of the maps will be, knowing the shortening timeline to approve the map by the end of the year. I'm also wanting to point out that—
Sir, your
yes.
time is up.
Okay, thank you very much for listening.
4 seconds. You have 4 seconds. I'm sorry. 4. Thank you.
Then I'll yield the balance of my time. Thank you for hearing me.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And thank you for your comments. Now it's time for the monthly financials. Is Mr. Onsick here?
I'm present via Zoom.
Online. Very good.
Yes. I apologize that I'm not able to be there in person. I would like to start out by sharing some good news.
Mr. Onsick, could you speak a little louder, please?
I would like to start out by sharing some good news. We have, yesterday, we received 11 bids for our bonds with interest rates ranging from 0.43% to 1.68%. So we've obviously selected the lowest bidder, which is 0.43%, and it was Park Ridge Community Bank. And we're still in the process of doing the legal review of the documents that need to be signed, and we think that they will be signed probably later today. Our total interest rate savings would be $415,000. And again, the interest rate is going to be 0.4267%. And the closing is scheduled to be October 28th. So I'm very pleased because this is almost exactly the amount of savings we anticipated receiving. So I'm very thankful that the bond market, held out this long for us and that we could still take advantage of these savings. And I'm very grateful for Spear Financial and Chapman Cutler and our state's attorney's office, who have been very, very helpful in helping to pull all this together.
Excellent. That's great news. Very good news. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, and I also then wanted to give you an update on the budget. I did everything in my power to try to have something that I could present to you today, but it just wasn't possible. I did work again through the night last night, but what I can tell you is that the budget is now balanced. That's what I was working on, so it's completely balanced within the system. I followed the steps that I had presented at the Finance Committee. The amounts are slightly different because there have been some changes along the way, but I want to put together a summary of all of the steps that we're taking in terms of numeric value, dollar value for each of the positions that were eliminated, the compensation adjustments that are being postponed. So I'll provide you with an itemized list of all of that and even some of the calculations, just so that it could be fully transparent and nobody's wondering how the numbers were arrived at. So I just was not able to have it for you for this morning, but it is coming. And the major step was the actual balancing of the budget, and that's done. So now it's just a matter of going through it and pulling out the pieces that we used and compiling the list for you. I have most of it done, it's just not totally done. So I'm very close to having that for you.
Joe, can you give us an idea of when you may have that report for us?
Well, I would think by, I don't know that's possible today, but possibly tomorrow, Friday the latest, so you'd have it before the weekend. But my goal would be to get it to you as soon as I possibly can. So I'm thinking, most likely sometime tomorrow.
All right, very good. Mr. Shepro?
Yes, question, Joe, with respect to the approving the draft for public display, do you feel we could proceed with that? Do you think, I had thought perhaps we could continue that item on the agenda to the morning of the board meeting so that at least exec officially passes on it before it goes to the full board? Is that something that would be within your timeline and something you think would be appropriate?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I should, yes, that's absolutely possible. That was the ultimate goal, to have this completely ready for you. So that certainly is possible. There's like two parts of this. One is my summary of all the changes. And in the meantime, the staff will be working on the budget document itself so that it will be ready. It's the actual document that will be placed on display. And so we're striving to have it all completed by Friday so that it could be sent out to the board, before the weekend starts. So you have that time through Tuesday morning to review it. And, certainly you can reach out to me if you have any questions.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. So we can all plan that we'll have an executive committee meeting after the Forest Preserve meeting. And
Madam Chair, it would be my intention to offer that amendment or that motion at the appropriate time on the agenda.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Onsick? Thank you, Mr. Onsick. We look forward to getting the budget, a balanced budget indeed. Wonderful. Is there any old business? None. Now let's move on to new business. Mr. Sanchez.
I motion to discuss and potentially pass authorizing agreement for professional services of a consultant firm to assist in planning, accounting, distribution, and reporting of American Rescue Plan funds and corresponding budget adjustment.
Second. Mr.
Parliamentary inquiry. The agenda says not included. Is that?
Do we have a copy of that?
A copy was just sent. I apologize that printouts were not made.
Just sent as in this morning?
Yes, check your email.
I do not have a copy of that. Do we have a printout of this?
I apologize. I had intended everyone to receive it yesterday, but plans changed.
Do we have a printer?
No, not. We'd have to postpone this and go upstairs and have it printed out for everybody. How should we proceed?
Oh, no.
I would just make a point of order that given the importance and magnitude of this contract, and I understand everybody's been doing their best to get it ready, I think that it is not appropriate to consider it on the agenda when we have nothing really in front of us and only got it this morning.
Okay.
Madam Chair, this is John Martin. May I speak?
Yes, Mr. Martin, absolutely.
I agree with Mr. Shepro and would add to that the fact that since this conversation began, we've added new committee members who have had no ability because of their recent appointment to participate in any of these discussions. I just feel it appropriate that this go back to committee to give us a chance to kind of catch our breath and determine where in fact we're going to go and review this contract so that we are proceeding in a reasoned fashion here. Too much haste is in fact too much haste, and I would like to have this discussed with some thought applied. I'd like to have in hand. I think we're still short two of the county administrators' requests for funds. I think that we need to complete our deck here before we start to play the cards.
Mr. Praz.
Praz speaking. I would just like to ask Mr. Sanchez what the consequences of that, what I assume would be a 30-day delay would be on that. I know we had a meeting late last night, and we heard about the emergency needs of several mental health providers. And so there is some urgency to this, but I understand the concerns of Mr. Shepro and Mr. Martin.
Yeah, and again, I apologize that the resolution wasn't sent out sooner. I'll take responsibility for that. The consequences, well, one, we, as I've at least been saying at our committee meetings, we need a third-party consultant to vet all of our departmental requests that are coming in for eligibility and to help us determine which ones are very strong uses of the money and which ones are less strong uses of the money. Then we have also our community support grant program, the $4 million that we're going to be determining what the parameters are at the October 20th meeting. And if we don't have a consultant in place at that time, by the time the portal closes for that grant program, we won't be able to begin the paperwork process of administering those funds. So it will delay that, the release of the checks from that grant program potentially by 30 days. And as well as all the other functions that I've at least discussed in the committee meetings about what we need the consultant firm to do will also be delayed.
If I may, we appreciate those comments, and it's good to hear those comments, but I don't believe that we can move forward without having a resolution here to take a look at. If that is clear.
That would be my contention. I mean,
and should this then just be moved down or to, not down to, excuse me, to the ARP committee, which meets directly after this, where perhaps the resolution can be printed out for their review, the committee's review, and then brought forward through the next set of meetings. Yes.
I guess I would offer a compromise to that point. If we are going to have a special executive meeting on Tuesday prior to our full committee meeting to discuss the budget draft, maybe we can add this as an agenda item to that committee meeting. It will go through ARP this afternoon or this morning later on. It'll go to our executive board on Tuesday then when we're having a special executive board meeting, and then onto our full committee on Tuesday afterwards.
That's a compromise.
That's a great solution.
I guess that would involve Shepro speaking. I suppose a simultaneous postponement of this to the next Tuesday morning, as well as sending it back to committee. I guess I would ask the state's attorney if a dual motion like that would be acceptable under the rules of order, or do we have to do one or the other?
If we send it to the ARP committee this morning, the ARP committee can then make a motion to send this to the special executive board meeting on Tuesday. So we don't have to make a dual option. We just have to have the idea in place.
I agree with that. Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is John Martin. May I speak?
Absolutely.
None of this conversation, and I appreciate the goal is to not stymie a process, but none of it addresses my concern, which is that we haven't seen this contract. And at least from my perspective, seeing it, having it printed and brought to the meeting is not seeing the contract. When we haven't had the state's attorney's review, I mean, we have no clear basis to move ahead and say that we're doing it with knowledge and consideration in hand. If we're all handed a contract to review, not having been reviewed by the state's attorney, not having any idea as of yet as to what the county demands are, it just seems like we've got it's just wrong to approve the contract that whatever people want to say about receiving it in the next 10 minutes, it won't have been read, it won't have been reviewed, it won't have been discussed with new board members. New committee members. I can't support moving it ahead and putting it on the executive agenda, which presumes that this committee, after this meeting, will automatically approve the content of a contract that they still haven't read and that the state's attorney still has not read nor offered an opinion on.
Is there a motion is that a motion, Mr. Martin?
Well, I mean, if it's appropriate, I'd move that this be sent back to the ARP committee for further consideration.
All right, there's a motion on the table and a second by Mr. Tepe. Is there any further discussion? Yes.
Sir, was there need then?
So was there need then to, you called the state's attorney's office up to find out if you can place that on the special meeting?
No.
Should that be wrapped into this motion or not?
No, because that would be, if it would be up to the committee. Shepro speaking again. My understanding is that if Mr. Martin's motion were adopted, it would then go back to committee and the committee could then do what it liked.
Correct.
And we would react to that when they did that. But I would hope and expect that Mr. Martin's concerns would be addressed, including a actual contract, not just a resolution, but what it is that the consulting firm is going to do, when, how, et cetera, before that would come back to executive. That would certainly be my preference.
We have a number of people who would like to speak. And Mr. Sanchez, I do see Ms. Bates, you had your hand up.
I'll wait for a minute.
Mr. Tepe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have already expended funds from this particular allocation from the government already. There's no reason why we couldn't continue that and consider some options associated with ways to handle the $4 million, which will probably be authorized today, for mental health. There are ways to perhaps do that. So I don't think there's any real urgency to rush into an agreement that is, in my opinion, extremely substantial in the amount of costs that are going to be incurred for this particular process without proper vetting by the committee. So I think that this should be sent back to the committee to discuss.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you. Well, it's on the committee agenda following this meeting. So sending it to the committee in essence could just mean discussing it at the appropriate time. The state's attorneys have the drafts of the contracts and the statement of work given to us by the firm that I would be recommending. And my understanding is that Vince Coyle and a program manager, Peter Phillips, are working on this with that firm to go over the details and to include the full scope of work as we understand it to be. As far as other options to administer our community support grant program, we saw last year with the CARES Act, we used Mr. Scott Berger's office, the Office of Community Reinvestment, and at least one state's attorney to run multiple programs. And it got us through, but we don't have that help this time. So if we're not going to have a consultant firm to run that community support grant program for us, I think we're all going to have to roll up our sleeves and start checking paperwork to get those checks out on time. And we all know that's not going to happen. That being said, I would support the discussion at the meeting following this of the American Rescue Plan Committee, and also discussion on this at the executive committee. We may have a final contract to present at that time. The firm seems to believe that this is something we can move very quickly on, maybe even by the end of this week. Copy could be in everyone's hands, physically and digitally on time, and we can go from there. So I would support that motion, but I don't support the current motion as I understand it.
If I may, then yes, I'll recognize you, of course, Ms. Bates. I believe that, of course, I advocated and supported the $4 million, and we agreed that we wanted $5 million. We came to consensus to $4 million. But I wouldn't be, the criterion to develop what we're going to be funding for these not-for-profits has not been developed by the ARP committee yet. And I believe that's very important for this to come internally through the committee and then through this board to find out what we are going to actually fund. Yesterday, we had some very heartfelt reports given by these not-for-profits on the need for salaries, that investment of salaries. Now, I do not know, as I was doing my little chart of the 9 organizations that spoke, is that something we want to support? Because that is a finite resource. Or do we want to give them, and once the money is gone, if we pay for one of the organizations asks for payment for a physician, if we give them $250,000 or $300,000, which would be a comparable salary for a physician for 1 year, what happens at the following year when the clients are still knocking at the door? So I believe it's very important before we put the grants through for accept the applications that the committee absolutely defines what the goals of the ARP funding would be, which would define the scope and the amount of grants. Are we going to supply smaller grants for $25,000, a multitude of those? Are you going to supply larger grants for a significant amount of money? There was conversation by a multitude of those organizations, I believe 3 or 4 of them, asking for support for a community crisis center that would be developed by the health department. Is that a conversation we want to have here with the committee, with the ARP committee, thoughtfully to see if that's where the money should go and can that be sustained? So I know that there's a great need, but I believe that we need as a group, as a collective force, to be very thoughtful about how we're going to spend this money to make sure that it's allocated for that 5 or 6 years down the road, because this problem of mental health, the issues of mental health that the $4 million is allocated for, is not going to go away in a year. So please, yes.
I don't know how to do this. I'm sure many people will tell me. I would like to amend Mr. Shepro's motion to put
Mr. Martin's motion.
Oh, Mr. Martin's motion. To amend it to what Myrna Molina said. And anybody who can help me with I would like this to be sent to the special executive committee rather than being formally sent back to the ARP committee, which would delay this whole thing a month or a month and a half. And my feeling is that the people of Kane County really can't wait an extra month or month and a half to receive this help. And anybody who feels like this has been rushed, the talk about a consultant, hiring a consultant, was mentioned on July 9th, August 25th, September 8th, and September 22nd. But who's counting? So on 4 different occasions, we talked about hiring a consultant. I don't think we can wait. I understand there's difficulties. We didn't have the resolution in time. We need more details. I would like to amend Mr. Brown's motion to Martin. Okay, Mr. Martin, sorry, to take this to the special executive committee.
I'm going to raise a point of order. Shepro asked the state's attorney. I believe this was kind of the dilemma we found ourselves in our recent meeting about the solar panels. And I think there is some question in my mind as to whether you can amend a motion to amend or whether you just simply have to wait for that motion to be disposed of and make another motion if you want to.
Madam Chair, if I might offer, I think that what Ms. Bates has basically said is she wants to vote no to my motion, which is different.
I think that's the case.
Amending it out of existence. So at some point in time, we need to have the vote and determine whether or not this matter is sent back to committee or it's handled in some other way.
Thank you very much. With the advice of our state's attorney, please correct me if I'm wrong. Please stop me. I would like to call Mr. Martin's resolution to a vote, and then whether it passes or fails, then we can come up and go from, is that correct? Ms. Bates' amendment. They're conferring right now for everybody who's listening online. And then we'll read back the resolution.
Yeah.
Or the amendment, I'm sorry.
God, that, Karen.
So there was a motion made by Ms. Bates, I believe. There has not yet been a second. Obviously getting a little messy. Refer to committee can be amended. Although if there is a desire to hear this next week's executive committee meeting, it is already on the ARP agenda, ARP committee agenda for this morning, and you could simply postpone to a date certain. That probably would be the cleaner way to do it. If there is no second to Ms. Bates' motion, then we would simply vote on the motion to refer to committee. And I'm not sure I answered your actual question.
So we have a motion on the table, and now we have a motion by Ms. Bates to amend that motion.
Correct.
Okay, so we stand.
I'm not sure that I fully understand the motion Ms. Bates made, however.
All right, why don't we start with clarity? Start from the beginning. Clerk, could you please read Mr. Martin's motion?
I don't have it word for word, but Mr. Martin motioned to move this back to ARP before it was discussed in exec.
Okay, so
before it's moved to the special executive committee.
All right, so the motion is to move the resolution to hire a consulting firm for the ARP committee to the ARP committee.
Tepe seconded it.
And that was second. And
perhaps if we could ask Mr. Martin to reword his motion to either commit or refer back to committee. I think that is what the intent was.
Well, my intention is that I want this matter sent back to the committee for discussion and further recommendation to this body and to the board. However, that should be technically worded.
That would be to commit or refer to committee.
so which word would you prefer, commit or refer?
Oh, it's fine. They both mean the same thing.
How about
But
refer?
commit and refer.
There you go.
Yeah, let's do it like a lawyer and use extra words.
With more syllables.
That's fine with me for the second.
Oh, we've already, oh, okay, no, we've already got, I think we've already got a second on that. Mr. Tepe.
That's fine.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tepe. Now, Ms. Bates, you would like to amend that
Mr.
motion.
Martin, or whoever would like to answer this question, does that mean that it would go back to ARP, but be referred to the special executive committee meeting?
That's up to ARP. That's at the ARP committee.
Gums with a comment.
Yes, Ms. Gums.
I believe we're overcomplicating this. So essentially this is going back to ARP, and then the ARP committee will make a recommendation to go to special exec.
Correct. That's exactly correct.
Can ARP do that? Send it to the special executive meeting?
Of course they can.
What the committee always takes action and sends it to executive.
Then I think I'd take back my amendment. If it can go from ARP to the special meeting that's going to take place next week, then that's what I want.
All right, so the motion on the table, is everybody clear? Okay, to commit this discussion to the ARP committee with its follow-up resolution, which will be printed out and distributed to the ARP committee. And that's my sidebar, so that everybody can read it.
And that's the committee today?
Yes,
today.
yes, after it'll be directly after this meeting, this meeting. So could we please have the vote? Clerk, call the roll.
Bates? Yes. Berman?
Yes.
Javist? Ford?
Yes.
Froz?
Yes.
Gums?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Caius?
Caius, yes.
Martin?
Martin, yes.
Molina?
Molina, yes.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Strathman?
Strathman, yes.
Sturgis?
Sturgis, yes.
Tepe?
Tepe, yes.
Shepro?
Shepro, yes.
You're up.
Motion passes. Very good. Are there any resolutions that need to be removed from the consent agenda?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
We'll pull it up here. The Transportation Department has a resolution for
Item 6.
Item 6. I've got it highlighted in red here. Approving a consulting service agreement, Stantec Consulting Services. I'd like to have it removed, please.
Okay.
You got a number?
Is there anything else?
I just have a parliamentary
Madam-
inquiry.
Madam-
Is it premature to be removing them, because we still have to vote on it to forward it to the full board? So my suggestion would be is that when we get to transportation,
All right, that'll work.
it would be sent on, but off consent, as opposed to taking it off now.
That'll be fine. We can do it one at a time, but we know item number 6 under transportation will be pulled. No, that has been highlighted.
Madam Chair, it's John Martin.
Yes, Mr. Martin.
There's a matter that does not show on the proposed agenda today, but just to make sure that everyone recalls the procedural aspect of it, there had been a resolution prepared that would have extended our KEEP contract, and Mr. Van Kerkhoff and other people involved with that have requested that move ahead only if they had concluded the technical review and review of the proposed contract extension. And I've been advised by Mr. Kerkhoff that in fact that review is not concluded, and he wants that sent back to the development committee, which is why it's not on the agenda today.
A Shepro question for Mr. Martin.
What? I'm sorry, Mr. Martin. Which item are you talking about?
It's not. It's not. I could have just done it under committee comments, Madam Chair, and I apologize, but it seemed appropriate at the time I began to talk. I
was only going to ask if there is some action, Mr. Martin, that you think this committee needs to take, or if it just stays with development.
The finance committee members, Mr. Berman in particular, can help me recall, but we as a consensus said that matter could move ahead, but that it would not be on the agenda at the will of the people that were reviewing the final contract. So they in fact have determined that they haven't concluded that review, and it's not on this agenda, and it will be back before the development committee once it's been fully vetted by the state's attorney and Mr. Van Kerkhoff.
Yes.
Very good. Okay, good.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, Andrea O'Brien, Deputy Court Administrator. May I just make a comment?
I think
yes.
Okay, I just, under finance, the resolution for the Child Protection Data Grant number 6, I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention. It passed through Judicial and Public Safety and Finance, but there had to be some amendments made prior to executive. So it has some adjustments from the previous draft. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention, that we had to make some changes because to get the grant funding, we had to have Madam Chair's signature by the end of September. So that has just been amended. I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention.
All right, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Question, Shepro, is that change before us, or is that something we haven't seen yet?
The change is before you today. The amended version we submitted is on your agenda.
Very good. Ms. Molina.
I was going to bring that up when we discussed finance, but I don't know if you want to go ahead with the meeting, and then I can go into more detail if anybody has any questions on that one.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, we're ready to begin. All right, let's go. Ms. Neerman, could you please present these 2 items for us, please? We've got authorizing an intergovernmental grant agreement. Who's going to be speaking to it?
Good morning, thank you. Item number 1 I could speak to, that is authorizing a grant agreement with the state of Illinois through the Illinois Criminal Justice Authority program for drug prosecution within the state's attorney's office. The grant was recently received, the grant agreement, and the administrators need signature on kind of a more rapid basis than the committee timelines provided for. So the matter is coming first to this committee and then for county board approval next month. I believe it's approximately $127,000. The amount is within the resolution. But that's simply what it is. It's authorizing the grant agreement that the state's attorney's office has been receiving for a number of years.
Okay. Okay.
Shepro moves.
Yes.
Lena seconds.
Very good. Please, any discussion on this? None. Please call the roll.
Bates?
Yes.
Berman?
Berman, yes.
Davis? Ford?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Gums?
Gums, yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Caius?
Just for clarity, this is item
One on executive.
under executive. Okay, thank you. Yes, Caius, yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Molina?
Molina, yes.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Strathman?
Strathman, yes.
Sturgis? Tepe?
Tepe, yes.
Shepro?
Yes.
You're up. That passes.
Very good. Mr. Sanchez.
So we need, well, I guess I can move
Yes, this one you can.
and ask for a second for authorizing FY21 budget adjustment for administrative expenses of American Rescue Plan Act funds.
Caius, second.
Yes. Ms. Neerman?
I don't know if you still wanted us to speak as to item number 2.
Yes, you
under
can.
executive.
Yes, that'll be fine.
Sorry.
Please.
I checked that one off already. I jumped to the next.
So since it's his committee, do you want to speak to what we're doing with this?
This was to authorize a limited engagement of a consultant to meet the October 31st, 2021 ARPA reporting deadlines and corresponding budget adjustment. Since we did not have a consultant on board yet for the ARPA funds, there was a report that was due October 31st. We engaged KEB, who had done the earlier report at the end of August, to do this report. Since that time, just at the end of, or I guess yesterday or today, a couple days ago, the Treasury extended the deadline to do the report. There was minimal work done, so we do need a budget adjustment. It just won't be as large. I think the bill is going to be around like $1,500 or something.
Okay.
But we would need to authorize that.
A budget adjustment, but we are going to continue working with them to have them finish this report. Is that correct?
I don't believe so, because the deadline should be after a consultant is hired. If the consultant is not hired, then they could finish the report, yes.
Okay, okay, all right. It may just be wise, since they've already started it, just to complete it, to have a project completed so that it's done, but.
Would it, question, Shepro, would it be appropriate then to amend it to reduce the not to exceed amount?
I think the not to exceed amount is appropriate. In this particular case, I think it's appropriate, and then we can kind of see if we have the new consultant online, whether there would be substantial additional work to be done and who, which consultant should actually do the report. Because if additional reporting time, additional activity is to be reported, it might be that the new consultant would be more appropriate. So I think this resolution as stands is fine. And then we don't have to use that amount of money.
Okay.
I will retract my previous motion because as it jumped ahead on the agenda, I'm sorry, Michelle, we didn't get a chance to talk about this one before today. I thought we weren't going to call it up because of that fact, but as you said, we still have to approve the $1,500 or so that were completed. So I will I will motion and ask for a second for the authorization for limited engagement of consultant to meet October 31st, 2021 ARPA reporting deadlines and corresponding budget adjustment.
Ross seconds.
Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Bates?
Yes.
Berman?
Berman, yes.
Davis? Ford?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Gums?
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Sturgis, Tepe,
Deppie, yes.
Shepro.
Shepro, yes.
It passes.
Very good. And just as I believe I should have said as amended to pass this, because this has been amended to $1,500 not to exceed. Is that correct?
No, we didn't have an amendment.
Because right now we've got $14,490. What is,
We have two different amendments. We have two different resolutions we're looking at. We're under Executive 2. I think the one you're referring to is Finance 1.
no, I'm talking about
I
Executive
retracted
2.
that.
I'm Executive 2.
Yeah, Executive 2. Sorry, that's where I thought we were.
We are.
Okay.
We all believed we were passing an amended version. Can we agree that the motion and the second agree and everyone
As
agree
amended.
that it was as amended?
As amended.
We didn't have an amendment.
Unanimous consent?
Yeah, okay.
Motion is amended, nunc pro tunc.
Thank you, Counselor Shepro.
It is fine. They would not be able to do any additional work on the report if that is the case. I guess I did not understand the motion that Mr. Sanchez was making. If it was to amend to $1,500, we'll make sure that that is indeed what is in there. They would not be able to do any other work. We would simply pay them out. If there is another invoice that comes, we'll have to bring it back.
All right. Everybody's fine with that?
Confused by that. I thought we were told that the new amount would not exceed, the additional work would not exceed $1,500.
I received an invoice, I believe, for less than $1,500 yesterday. I did not review it thoroughly yet. That would have been for the work that has been performed to date. I don't know. I assume that that is all the work that's been performed. They did stop work. Madam Chair did mention that maybe they could proceed to finish the report if we don't have a consultant on board. They would not be able to proceed without further approval because they would exceed the $1,500 amount. So that, just so that everyone understands.
Okay.
If it stayed as written, they could proceed. There would be the possibility that they could proceed because there would be authorization for them to expend additional time up to the 14,900 or whatever it was.
All right.
Is that
Jack,
okay?
There's coffee in the bag, just so everyone knows. We all might need it.
That's what I said. Yeah.
I don't like to make rhetorical comments too often, at least in a public forum, but this ARP committee, because of the importance and the integrity of the funding, is critically important that we have our financial matters together before it's brought to the board. So there's complete clarity for all of us so we're not confused.
Madam Chair.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating. Yes, Mr. Shepro.
To try to move this along, what I want to do is to reconsider the vote we just took, table it. We can take it off the table next week with presumably the final number, and it won't delay any work at that point. If that's acceptable to the committee chair, I will offer that.
I agree with that.
Okay, so I would ask unanimous consent, just to save a roll call, that we reconsider the previous action to approve item 2 on the agenda and that we table it.
Okay, before we begin.
If I could make a friendly suggestion, that it would be to postpone it to the special meeting. I'm not entirely clear whether we're going to be calling this special meeting or if we're adjourning to a fixed time. So
I was going to propose to simply adjourn the meeting to a specific time.
A specific time.
So it would be continuation of this meeting. If it's tabled, it could be taken off the table.
That would be fine. You would be adding on then something with respect to the new ARP consultant, oh, this is getting overly complicated.
There would be no change to the agenda. The agenda items would simply, well, if the ARP committee chooses to send the consultant back to the executive committee meeting next week, it would be placed on that agenda and presumably published in a timely fashion. This would simply reappear. We could postpone it. Instead of tabling it, I would change my motion or my request for unanimous consent that it be postponed to the continuation of the meeting.
I think that makes sense. We maybe also want to suspend the rules to allow, since you referred the ARP committee item, consulting item, to suspend the rules to allow Madam Chair to place on the agenda for the adjourned meeting, because essentially then you were tabling it, right? Because
okay.
you referred the committee, you've referred it to committee, that vote was taken. If you are adjourning to a fixed time, you're still in the same meeting. So I
suggest that we do that at the conclusion of this meeting, and you'll remind us.
I will try.
Madam Chair, this is
yes,
John Martin.
Yes, Mr. Martin.
Aren't we talking about paying an invoice here?
We're paying, but how much is the invoice? And that is exactly correct. Are we going to pay $1,500?
So let's pay. I don't want to add another convolution to the discussion. We just send it back to committee. The committee can decide if this group is going to finish the report or somebody else is. We can delay paying the invoice a month and just quit worrying about it at this level. It may be that it's prudent for them to complete it. It may be that they decide that the new consultant, when retained, should do it. But all we're talking about here is delaying somebody's invoice for a month.
I withdraw my request and agree with Mr. Martin. We'll deal with it if we have to.
All right, so we still need to amend this resolution.
No, not right now. We'll wait and see if we need more work, and then the ARP committee can move forward with that.
Frost speaking, don't we have to withdraw that action, the action we took on item 2?
No, because we authorized paying basically the adjustment to pay the bill that we've got. So if we get another bill, we'll deal with that then.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good.
Thank you all for your patience as we debated there's nothing to vote on.
We've already voted on it.
He made a motion to reconsider.
Right.
Yes,
this is never mind.
Get what they told you.
Yes.
To my point, clarity is going to be critically important going forward on this.
Yeah.
So that
Thank you, Madam Chair, for offering that clarification, and Mr. Martin as well.
Thank you both, and thank you, everybody. All right, now, Mr. Berman.
You're in trouble.
Yes. We have a number of items under finance. Is there any that you'd like to withdraw from the consent agenda?
No.
This, yes.
Oh, we have to move them forward.
Not to withdraw, just to make sure that everybody was understood that item number 6 had 2 whereas added to it on our agenda. So this is separate than what the committee had approved. I don't think I need to make a motion to amend because it's already on the agenda. I just want everybody to be aware that we just had to add 2 whereases to the original resolution.
And perhaps for clarity, could you tell us where those whereases are?
Yes, it's whereas number 6 and 7. Whereas the Child Protection Data Court Project is a continuing grant offered to the judiciary from year to year in the amount under $50,000. And whereas the grant documents were due back to the state by September 30th, 2021, were signed by the chairman in order to accept the grant deadline.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I had. Okay.
Any other comments, any other items?
Yes.
Chair, thank you. I just want, I don't want to bring this up at our
Nikki,
full
name.
I'm sorry, Wonicki speaking. at our full county board. Number 20, approving a contract for a water management plan for the Adult Justice Center and the JJC. I'm just curious why we're hiring a water management engineer, and does it include the multi-purpose building? And because we received St. Charles water, I think, the municipal water from the city of St. Charles.
We do, please.
I can speak to that. Typically, water management plans
Name,
are,
please.
Oh, sorry, Jody Womack, Director of Environmental Water Resources. Typically, water management plans are highly recommended by the CDC for any structures that have a long-term population in them and a complex plumbing system. And so because of our adult and juvenile justice centers, the complexity of the plumbing system, as well as the residents within that facility that are in there 24 hours a day, it's recommended by the CDC to have those water management plans completed. So if we were to ever have any issues, we could attend to them with constant monitoring of the system, as well as ensure the water safety for our residents.
So it's not really a long-term contract. It's just to update everything, basically.
It's to establish a plan for both of those buildings. And then we will have training sessions for our building management staff in order to enact that plan.
Okay, thanks, Jody. Thank you.
Any other questions, any items? I move that we approve items 1 through 21 of the finance.
Second, Shepro.
Second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Bates, Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davist, Ford,
Ford, yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Gums,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Sturgis, Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Shepro.
Shepro, yes.
Passes.
Passes, very good. Mr. Sturgis?
All right, let's try and make this one really clear. A housekeeping issue that we have to pass.
Microphone, Mr. Sturgis.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Approving the 2022 holiday schedule for Kane County offices. So moved.
Second.
Kenyon, seconds.
Mr. Kenyon, seconds.
Please call the roll.
Who bypassed the committee?
Bates, Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davist, Ford,
Ford, yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Gums,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Sturgis, Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Shepro.
Good job, Cliff.
Passes.
And passes. Thank you. Mr. Ford?
Good job, Cliff.
How you doing, Madam Chair?
Oh, very good.
Good morning,
And you?
everyone.
Good morning.
I'm doing good. Today, we have amendment for intergovernmental agreement established from our workforce development that includes the our 3 counties. I don't know if we have Burgess online for any detail.
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
For any detail, I don't know if Scott is online or not.
Oh, Mr. Berger. Scott, are you online?
No.
No, I don't see him.
So this is really just a housekeeping for the Workforce Development Board.
Ross, seconds.
It is seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davist, Ford,
Ford, yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Gums,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Strathman,
Yes.
Sturgis, Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Shepro.
Shepro, yes.
That passes.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Madam Chairman, this is Alan.
Yes, Ms. Allen.
I'm sorry, I should have leapt into the discussion part. I believe congratulations are in order that Mr. Ford is actually going to be the chairman or president of that Workforce Development Board. And that's a large amount of money to distribute and a large number of people to distribute it with. And I just wanted to offer congratulations.
Oh, very good. Yes, indeed. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Fingers are going up, applauding. Well done. Do a good job. I know you will. Mr. Froz.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, Froz speaking. I have under transportation, I have 7 items and I'll move all 7. Ask
Martin
for a second.
seconds. Kenyon seconds.
Mr. Kenyon seconds. I'll just run through them real quick. Item 1 approves the distribution of Township Bridge Program funds to Blackberry Township. Item 2 approves and adopt the highway applicant. Item 3 approves an IGA with the state to move forward with our partnership on the Orchard and Route 30 intersection improvements. That's a state project, but we're paying $1.4 million in local share participation. Item 4 approves an IGA with the Kane County Forest Preserve for the purchase of 2.31 acres of wetland bank for future KDOT projects. Item 5 approves a phase 1 engineering agreement for the Galligan Road improvements at both Galligan and Binney and Galligan and Freeman and other locations along that stretch. Item 6 is the one Mr. Kais wants to discuss. This approves a consulting services agreement with Stantec Consulting. This is for our toll bridge operations support for Long Meadow Parkway Bridge. And this is to implement and operate the tolling operations. It's a 3-year agreement. It's a task-based on-call type of agreement, not to exceed $600,000 over the 3 years. And the hope would be that at that point or somewhere along the line, we would then be able to take over those services, having been involved with it. Item 7, finally, this is kind of confusing. This approves what's called just compensation for acquisition with the state of Illinois. This is for the Doberman Road extension to purchase some right-of-way under what the state calls a quick take process. So this is for only 1.283 acres. We need to establish just compensation range of $138,000. The state will do a quick take and then negotiate the final amount with the landowner while construction proceeds. That's all I have.
Question.
Yes.
So the actual plaintiff for 7 would be the state of Illinois.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to agree to establish the amount that they'll be using in their negotiation.
Yeah, well, the preliminary is the amount that gets deposited, and both we and the state and the defendant can all argue later whether they should get more or less.
Right. This essentially prevents us from being held up, the project held up for years in negotiations.
Right. Because we actually, when they go into court, they call it a motion for immediate vesting of title. And then they deposit the just compensation award and they get title immediately instead of waiting for the end of the trial process.
And then, Madam Chairman, I understand that item 6 has been pulled by Mr. Kais, so that'll be off consent agenda next week.
Cool. So do I get to speak then? Drew, you want to take it over?
I will allow
you got my spiel.
Protocol, should we not vote on items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7, and then vote since that has been pulled off the agenda?
That would be fine.
And Mr. Kais agrees with Mr. Froz that Mr. Kais is going to request that we pull this from the.
And you requested it earlier, haven't
I believe Mr. Kenyon seconded.
So this is to approve items 1 through 5 and 7.
Correct.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bates?
Yes.
Berman?
Berman, yes.
Davis?
Davis, yes.
Ford?
Ford, yes.
Froz?
Yes.
Gums?
Gums, yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Caius?
Caius, yes.
Martin?
Martin, yes.
Molina?
Molina, yes.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Strassman?
Yes.
Sturgis?
Sturgis, yes.
Seppi?
Seppi, yes.
Shepro?
Shepro, yes.
Yes, the same.
Very good. May I have a motion and a second to approve item number 6?
Froz moves.
Berman seconds.
Discussion.
Berman seconds.
Berman seconds.
Berman seconds. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is Caius speaking on behalf of the residents of my district who are opposed to the scope and size of this project, as well as the toll that will be required for them to be paid to just drive across their community, and also those that consider it unwise to pay 30% of the fee to collect the toll as usury. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
I just
Yes.
briefly, Shapro, I understand Mr. Caius's continuing objection to the project, but I wonder if his constituents would really want to essentially have wasted all the money that we have expended so far because we don't have anybody who can do the rest of the work. It just seems like at some point you make the best of it, but that's just my.
I will when we take the toll off. Oh, and by the way, yes, I want to mention that the toll should be, as it mentioned in here, is considered to be sunsetted.
And that is part of the plan.
Can we move to make it the Chris Caius Bridge?
I think there was a motion at an earlier meeting to name it after somebody else, which got 3 votes.
Another Chris.
We do digress. If there's no other further discussion, please call the roll.
Bates?
Abstain.
Berman?
Berman, yes.
Davis?
Davis, yes.
Ford?
Ford, yes.
Bras?
Yes.
Gums?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Caius?
Caius, no.
Martin?
Martin, yes.
Molina?
Molina, yes.
Sanchez?
No.
Strathman?
No.
Sturgis?
Sturgis, yes.
Pepe?
Pepe, yes.
Shepro?
Shapro, yes.
Passes.
Motion passes. I believe that there is no need for an executive session. Are there any committee reports? Yes.
I would just chime in that at Human Services, we are still operating with Jamie Labrillo as an interim director. And for what it's worth, I think Jamie has been a real breath of fresh air and doing a great yeoman's job. This week, she brought to my attention a contract that had slipped through all the paperwork where one of our vendors, there's a word called subrogation, which means when an insurance carrier makes a payment, they have the right to later seek reimbursement for that payment. And our insurance carrier decided to put a fee on that, and a fee that we felt was somewhat unreasonable. And, Jamie asked, Cliff, do you want to negotiate that? And I said, I think you're fully capable. And she just did an outstanding job of capping it to a fixed dollar amount. And really, I mean, in this particular case, we made lemonade out of lemons. And she's really done a great job. And I just want to communicate that to the committee.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Is there anything else?
I have a motion.
Madam Chair.
Oh, hold on. Motion to.
I'd make a motion that this committee adjourn to 9:40 a.m. Tuesday, October, is that the 10th? Or the 12th? For the purpose of hearing, taking further action with respect to the proposed budget for the forthcoming year.
Could you hold that, suspend that, because I'd like to share some information with the executive committee before we.
Oh,
please.
Certainly.
Ms. Bates, you had a comment?
I just want to mention that the visitation for Gary Happ is today at Dieterle at 4 o'clock.
Very good. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry. So are we saying that there's an executive board meeting on
the morning of the county board?
The morning of the county. Okay, I don't have that on my calendar.
Well, we
just appeared. It just happened.
Putting it on right now.
We're just doing it now.
Oh, that's probably a really good reason why I don't have it.
Yes.
Right. Absolutely.
Will it be at the same time as the county board meeting?
No, it'd be 5 minutes before.
Oh, at this, but relatively prior. You don't have to have
Yes.
another
Yes.
calendar entry.
Okay, just a little bit of point of information. We'll be talking to the Forest Preserve District. The city of St. Charles is going to have an electric Christmas parade, and I thought it would be fun for us to participate. I believe the application, and I will vet it, I just want to share this with you, is $25, which will be shared between the Forest Preserve and us. But we will have to decorate, find something to do to celebrate Kane County. I think it sounds delightful. It's been 2 years since they've had it because of the pandemic. It's a time for holiday celebration and bringing families together, and there are several thousand people who should be in attendance. So as a point of just goodwill for the county to celebrate all the work that has been done, I hope you will approve this, and we'll make sure that we if we put it on our P card, and I'm joking because only
This is the $25. Our share is $12.50.
That'll be accurate.
If the Forest Preserves agree to go along.
Okay. Well, that sounds
We
like
need
a job for a ad hoc committee, but
I was to say, do we need an ad hoc? Do we need to form an ad hoc?
I will
Somebody's gotta
volunteer to contribute $25 to the entry fee as a donation and avoid any further special committees, ad hoc committees, referrals back to committee.
Take the money and run.
And
We're gonna need the hay rack again.
And I will be looking then, because I sense that there's approval, all of our board members who live or serve around St. Charles area, St. Charles Township, et cetera, for your assistance and help, and maybe have a little ride on the whatever we're going to put together.
Gums, do you still have those hats?
I'm telling you, I do. I don't know if we should make them chef's hats or clown hats at this point, though.
Betty left.
I was speaking. I just want to acknowledge Joe Onzik for all the work that was done with the budget. You know, I was out of town recently, and when I left, we had a serious deficit. I know some board members worked closely with him, but when I got back, it was balanced. So maybe it says something about me. I don't know. But when I'm gone, things get done. But a big shout out to Joe. I know he works overtime all the time, but he really takes the lead on that. So thank you, Joe.
Yeah, he is. Thank you. He's a valuable employee, and especially during his personal circumstances right now, to be able to balance both is really to his credit. Absolutely. And we are very grateful for him. And I'll put a shout out to all of our staff. This is an extraordinary group of people that we have working for Kane County. They go not to the goalposts, they go beyond that all the time. And I just want to make sure that we recognize their hard work and their efforts, and we'll continue to do so as best we can. Now, I believe that there was a correction. Gary Hopp's visitation is at Daylightens.
Yeah, it's on my
Okay,
street, but it
Daylightens.
is Daylightens. Thank you.
All right, please, sir.
All right, I think my motion was, do we really need to suspend the rules?
Just say motion to adjourn.
You got the book there.
Well, the book, no, that this doesn't talk about our rules. Okay, then my motion is that this meeting stand adjourned to a date certain, namely Tuesday, October 12th at the hour of 9:40 a.m. in this room.
9:45.
Or the
9:45.
No, the county board meeting is at 9:45.
Well, okay.
Forest.
Or 9:40 a.m. or immediately following
the
Forest Preserve Commission meeting of said date.
Okay, very good. Do I have a second? Or Berman. Everybody seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Meeting is over. Thank you very much.